4th Legislative District. Anybody from West Seattle? Oh, lots of West Seattle folks. Burien, Jean Montréal or White Center. I love everybody in Washington State, but I'm definitely biased to those folks. And I'm actually pretty new to all of this. So I've only been a politician for about 8 months. I don't know how I got here. So a year ago, I was out door knocking, just fighting for a chance to serve our community. And like a lot of people here, I wanted to get involved because I believe that our elected officials should represent the values and reflect the diversity of the people in this great state and this great nation. Thank you. And I believe we need people at the table who have historically been left out, who themselves have been the most disproportionately impacted by wealth inequality. And I was actually fortunate enough to serve in the most diverse legislative body in the history of Washington State. And with that power, we passed some transformative, progressive policies. We fought for climate change. That's right, under the great leadership of our governor, Jay Inslee. We supported working families by increasing access to health care and education so that everybody had a chance to succeed in Washington State. And as a person who's actually new to this, I was incredibly impressed to see how powerful a handful of progressives with bold vision were able to actually accomplish tremendous things. And that's why I'm so excited and full of hope for Senator Warren. She is someone that has seen what can be accomplished with the progressive values in Washington State and has that ability to take it to the other Washington for all of us as well. And this is the campaign. So earlier we did a chant, and I'm hoping to do another one so that she can make sure that she hears us as she comes out. So when I say dream big, you say fight hard. Dream big! Fight hard! Dream big! Fight hard! Dream big! Fight hard! Thank you. Now more than ever, America needs a president who will fight for working families. We need somebody with a heart and tenacity to stand up against the rich and the powerful, and has the plans to fix our broken system. And that is why I am so incredibly honored and excited to introduce the next president of the United States of America, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
From a great new state Senator Joe Wynn. I am so glad to be here. I have had a chance once again to meet with your mayor, Jenny Durkin, a progressive mayor for a progressive city. And I do feel like I'm at home. I've been here lots of times, mostly for your two great senators, for Maria Cantwell and for Patty Murray. And I'm also particularly happy to be in the home state of one of the finest governors in America. This entire country owes Governor Jay Inslee a big debt of gratitude. He has pushed the issue of climate change onto this debate agenda. Good to be here. You guys are fabulous. What a gorgeous day it is. And I'm here with family. I brought my husband, Bruce. Where are you, sweetie? There he is. Yeah. Okay, good. There'll be no living with him. No, he's the best in the world. I really am. I'm so glad to be here. I thought what we'd do today is I tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about why I'm in this race. We'll do some questions. I think we've already drawn some questioners. Oh, I got one right there. Okay. And then for anybody who wants to, I'll say as long as you want, we'll take selfies. That's a fun part. So I grew up out in Oklahoma. I am, any Okies? Oh, we got some right here. Woohoo. There aren't that many of us. So I am the baby. I have 3 much older brothers. And my 3 older brothers, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. All right, I'll do my best there. We may just flatten the people up here, but that's okay. They're ready, right? You're in it. They're in it. They said they got my back on this. You okay? Good. So like I was saying, I'm the baby. I have 3 much older brothers. I was what used to be called a late in life baby. My mother always just referred to me as the surprise! Now, I have 3 older brothers, like I said, who to this day are still referred to as the boys, distinguishing them from the baby that came later. So, all 3 of the boys went off and joined the military. My oldest brother, Don Reed, he was career military. He spent about 5.5 years off and on in combat in Vietnam. We were very lucky to get him back. Yeah. My second brother, John, spent a little over a year stationed overseas. My third brother, David, was trained as a combat medic. And that has given rise to a rule in our family, and that is never choke in front of David. The reason is even today, David carries a sharpened pocket knife. He is convinced he could do an emergency tracheotomy. It makes for some very exciting moments at Thanksgiving. Anybody goes, David says, I'm ready. But I love my brothers. I'm close to my brothers. I talk to them. I talked to David this morning. When we were growing up, our daddy had a lot of different jobs. He sold paint. He sold carpet. He sold housewares. And then when I was in middle school, the boys were all gone by then. So it was just my mom and my daddy and me. And my daddy had a massive heart attack. We thought we were going to lose him. Now, he pulled through, but when he got home from the hospital, he couldn't work for a long, long time. And that's when the world changed in a lot of ways. I still remember the day that we lost the family station wagon. I remember how my mama used to tuck me into bed at night. She'd give me a kiss, and then I knew what was coming. She'd close the door, she'd lean against it, and start to cry on the other side. She never wanted to cry in front of me. This was the time when I learned words like mortgage and foreclosure. And then one day, I walk into my folks' bedroom. It's in the morning, and laid out on the bed, it's the first thing I see, is the dress. Now, some of you here will know the dress. It's the one that only comes out for weddings, funerals, and graduations. There's the dress, and then I see my mother. She's in her slip and her stocking feet, and she's pacing, and she's saying, "We will not lose this house. We will not lose this house. We will not lose this house." She was 50 years old. She had never worked outside the home, and she was terrified. So she looks up and she sees me standing in the doorway. I'm just a kid. And she looks at me, and she looks at that dress, and she looks back at me, and she wipes her face, pulls that dress on, puts on her high heels, and walks to the Sears and gets a minimum wage job. And that full-time minimum wage job saved our house, and more importantly, it saved our family. Yeah. Now, for many years while I was growing up and on into my early adulthood, I always thought that's the lesson my mama taught me. And that is, no matter how scared you are, no matter how hard it looks, when it comes down to it, you reach down deep, you find what you have to find, you pull it up, and you take care of the people you love. But it was years later that I came to understand that wasn't just what my mother taught me. That's the story of millions of people all around this country. People who every day, no matter how hard it is, no matter how frightened they are, they reach down deep, they find what they have to find, they pull it up, and they take care of the people they love. That's who we are. But it was only years after that that I came to understand that same story is a story of government. Because understand this, when I was a girl, a full-time minimum wage job in America would support a family of 3. It would pay the mortgage, it would cover the utilities, and it would put food on the table. Today, a full-time minimum wage job in America will not keep a mama and a baby out of poverty. That is wrong, and that is why I am in this fight. And understand this, that difference is no accident. That difference is who government works for. When I was a girl, the question asked in Washington about the minimum wage is, what does it take a family of 3 to survive? What does it take a family of 3 to get a foothold in America's middle class, something solid they can build from? Today, the question asked in Washington is, where do we set the minimum wage to maximize the profits of giant corporations? Well, I don't want a government that works for giant corporations. I want one that works for our family. So, like I said, the boys went off, they joined the military. That was their path. Me, I had a different path. I have known what I wanted to do since second grade. Woo, you laugh. Some of you probably didn't decide till fourth grade. Not me, man. I've known what I wanted to do since second grade, and I've never wavered from it. I wanted to be a public school teacher. Can we hear it for America? I invested early. I used to line my dollies up and teach school. I had a reputation for being tough but fair. Oh, this is what I wanted. I so wanted it. But by the time I graduated from high school, we didn't have the money for college application, much less to send me off to 4 years at university. So, like a lot of Americans, I don't have a straight line story. My story has got a lot of twists and turns in it. So here's how mine goes. First, I got a scholarship to college. Yeah! And then, at 19, I fell in love, got married, and dropped out of school. Oh, by the way, not to that guy. Yes, I've numbered my husbands. He's H2. So, got a minimum wage job, thought, it's a good life. And it was the life I'd chosen. Nobody pushed me into this. But it wasn't a dream. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And then I found it. We're living down in Houston at this point, and I found what was then a commuter college 45 minutes away that cost $50 a semester. Yeah. And for a price I could pay for on a part-time waitressing job, I had a chance to finish my 4-year diploma, and I became a special needs teacher. I lived my dream job. I loved that work. In fact, have you got any special needs teachers here? Whoa, oh, God, oh, bunches. Okay, so back me up on this. It is not a job, it is a calling. I loved it. And to this day, I can remember what my kids looked like. I had 4 to 6-year-olds. And I would probably still be doing that work today, but like I said, my story has a lot of twists and turns. So here's the next twist. By the end of the first year, I was visibly pregnant. And the principal did what principals did in those days. Wished me luck and hired someone else for the job. Okay, so here I am. I'm at home, I got a baby, I can't get a job. What am I gonna do? You know, girls gotta do something. So my answer is, I'll go to law school. Never inquire too closely how your friends ended up in law school. So by this time, we'd moved to New Jersey, found a public law school, $450 a semester, baby on hip, 3 years in law school, graduated from law school, visibly pregnant. You will discover a pattern to these stories. Graduated from law school, visibly pregnant, took the bar, passed, practiced law for 45 minutes. Yay! And then went back to my first love, teaching. I traded little ones for big ones, but I spent pretty much all my grown-up life teaching. Well, and also there was the thing about marriages. That's when I switched over to husband number 2. Thank you, sweetheart. It's been wonderful. Thank you. The forever guy, I call it. Okay. So here I am. I'm teaching, and I don't know. Maybe this is what lots of people do who grow up with no money. But I'll tell you this. I taught everything about money. Contract law, commercial law, secure transactions, Article 9, Article 2 and 3 and 4, you got it right. Bankruptcy law, debtor-creditor, corporate finance, law and economics. If it was about money, I taught. But here's the deal. There was always one central question that I worked on. And that central question was, what's happening to working families in America? Why is it that families are having so much trouble? Why is America's middle class being hollowed out? Why is it that for people who work every bit as hard as my mother worked 2 generations ago, today the path is so much rockier and steeper, and for people of color, even rockier and even steeper. About who government works for. Think of it this way. We have a government in Washington that works great, fabulously, for giant drug companies, just not for people trying to get a prescription filled, right? Works great for people who want to invest in private prisons and private detention centers. Yeah. Just not for the people whose lives are torn apart. Works great, fabulously, for giant oil companies that want to drill everywhere, just not for the rest of us who see climate change bearing down upon us. Woo! When you see a government that works great for the rich, works great for those who can hire armies of lobbyists and lawyers, works great for the wealthy and the well-connected. It is not working so well for much of anyone else. That is corruption, pure and simple, and we need to call it out for what it is. Flows through Washington. Oh yeah, it's about campaign contributions, but so much more. Whatever issue brought you here today, whether it's healthcare, prescription drugs, gun safety, climate, whatever issue brought you here today, I guarantee that if there's a decision to be made in Washington, it has been influenced by money. It has been nudged by money. It has been shaped by money. Money, money, money. And here's the thing. We're not going to fix that with one little statute over here or a couple of regulations over there. The only way we fix that is with big structural change. This way. Go back to the early 1990s. We're beginning to figure out what's going on in climate change. We're not perfectly there. We don't have all the right science quite, but we got most of it. We can see the directions this stuff is going. We don't have perfect language, but we're getting there. And here's the amazing thing. You go back and look, and the Democrats and the Republicans were working together. Yep. Go back and look. They're figuring out, does the EPA need more help? Do they need more resources? Do they need more authority? Are there other bills we should be, what should we be doing? And then along come big oil, big polluters, the Koch brothers, they come in and they say, you know, this could be a problem. If our government, our federal government gets really serious about climate change, they're going to bite into our profits. If they change the regulations, that's going to disrupt how we do business. So they have an investment decision to make. They could invest in clean energy, say we're going to stop doing fossil. They don't do that. They could say, well, we're going to invest in green tech, you know, how to get carbon out of the air, how to get it out of the water, desalinate. They don't do that. No, you know what they invest in? They invest in politicians. They go to Washington and start spreading their money around. And one of the first places they spread it is on bought and paid for experts who deny climate science. Now, I want you to think for a minute about why so much money got pumped into that. And the answer, it's not because, you know, not because these guys don't understand the science. No, it's because having bought and paid for experts builds an umbrella over all of the politicians. An umbrella they can hide under and keep taking money from big oil, from the Koch brothers, from big polluters, and say, I don't know what's really going on here. You want to understand the climate crisis we're in today? It's 25 years of corruption in Washington that has brought us to. Yeah. So you want to do anything. You want to make big structural change. We've got to start by attacking the corruption head on. Just run right up against the middle, right? You've got to disrupt it, knock it back, call it out for what it is, wherever it is. And so here's the good news. I got a plan for that. Plan since Watergate. All right. Here's the bad news. We need the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. So now you wouldn't be surprised because the money flows in so many different places. This plan's got a lot of moving parts to it. So I tell you what, I'm just going to give you a little sample from it. And here's one of my favorite pieces from it. End lobbying as we know it. Here's another. Block the revolving door between Wall Street and Washington. Enough. But it's a good one, and that is make the United States Supreme Court follow basic rules of ethics on conflicts of interest. Okay, I could do these all day. I really could, but I'm just going to do one more. You really want to root out some corruption? Here's a good one. Make every single person who runs for federal office put their tax returns on. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay, so that's part one. And that is attack the corruption head on. Disrupt it, open up space for us to make the changes we need to make. Part two, we gotta make some structural changes in this economy. So I want you to think about it this way. The problem we've got is the giant corporations have just gotten bigger, and they have so much power. They have swallowed up the little businesses and the medium-sized businesses. Shoot, they've swallowed up what used to be called the big businesses, swallowed them up, and then they've got the power. The power to run over their own employees, the power, that's true, to run over their own consumers, the power to run over the communities where they're located. They've got the power in Washington. So, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about this? Well, the first one is, how about we get a president who's got the courage to enforce the antitrust laws? I'm in on that. But I want more. We're going to talk about structural change. It's not just enforcing the laws that are out there. We need to put more power in the hands of workers. That means make it easier to join a union and give unions more power. Unions built America's middle class. Unions will rebuild America's middle class. Structural change. Get some of that power in the hands of workers so they can push back over time. Second way to think about structural change, it's time for a wealth tax in America. Okay, so some of you know how this works. Some of you may not. So let me tell you about the idea behind the wealth tax. It's your first $50 million is free and clear. I know. Some of you are saying, oh, okay. I can still deal with this woman. Okay. First $50 million is free and clear, but your 50 millionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And, whoa. And 2 cents on every dollar after that. That's it. That's not bad. And just by the way, people say, oh, wealth tax. Okay, just pause for a minute. Anybody in here own a home or grow up in a family that owned a home? Yeah, you've been paying a wealth tax. It's just called a property tax. And all I'm saying is different for the bazillionaires is in addition to their real estate, how about we include the stock portfolio, the diamonds, the Rembrandt, and the yacht. And look, I want you to understand this. I don't propose a wealth tax because I'm cranky. I don't propose it because I'm mad at anybody. You know, I get it. Bazillionaires say, I had a great idea and I worked hard. Unlike everybody else. Or, you know, I built this great fortune or inherited this great fortune. And I say, good for you. And I mean it, good for you. But here's the deal. If you built a great fortune here in America, I guarantee you built it at least in part using workers all of us help pay to educate. Getting your goods to market on roads and bridges, all of us help pay for it. Yep. You built it, at least in part, protected by police and firefighters, all of us help pay their salaries. We are glad to do that. We are Americans. We believe in making these investments. All we're saying is when you make it big, really big, top 1/10 of 1% big, pitch in 2 cents so everybody else gets a chance to make it.